عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الصلاة والسلام على محمد النبي الأمين وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعه بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. الحمد لله على نعمة الإسلام وكفى بها نعمة، وأصلي وأسلم وأبارك على النبي المبعوث رحمة للعالمين سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعه بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. Inshallah, tonight we'll discuss an issue that should be of importance to every parent who have a son or a daughter above 10-year-old. This is not going to talk about the early childhood. That's another subject, although some of what will be mentioned is also of importance. But the emphasis on this age, preparing them to be young Muslim adults. And there's no doubt that there is a big challenge that's facing the Muslims in the West, being in the US, in Canada, or in Europe. The Muslims of Canada have done something last week which was outstanding. It really made a point for the non-Muslims, for their children, for the community at large. They decide on the first day of June to boycott the school, because basically the school was determined to celebrate the Qawm Lut and their actions and their pride and what have you. So the Muslims agree among themselves, somehow, somewhere. Someone took the initiative and they decide not to send their children to the school for that day. And some of the districts in Canada, if you do not or are not familiar with Canada, in some of the districts, 40% of the schools was empty. Because in some of the districts, 40% of the school crowd are Muslims. And some of you have seen a video with one of the teachers shouting, criticizing the Muslim students after they came the second day, saying basically, she is angry, she's upset, you guys are not Canadian, you cannot be Canadian with this behavior, you have to come and share with other people that do not share your way, and so on and so forth. I said it's an important step because the kids will remember it for years, that we are different and we need to be different, and it's okay to be different. Sayyidina Ibrahim, when he was a young man, he destroyed the Asnam when he was a young man. The Kuffar said, a young man by the name of Ibrahim is criticizing our gods. In Surah Al-Kahf, we find young men who left the town because they were trying to force them to worship the idols. Maryam alayha salam, at a young age, was a great worshipper to the point that Zachariah, who was a prophet, imagine Zachariah, who was a prophet, would hear Maryam alayha salam talking about what the angels got her. And he said, it's time that I make dua for Allah for a son, although he had passed the age of 90 and his wife was barren. What is the issue? Well, the issue is, as Muslims, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us to raise our children within the Islamic aqidah, within the Islamic belief. So they carry the banner of Islam after us. And this is very important in this society for the future of Islam and Muslims. يا أيها الذين آمنوا قوا أنفسكم وأهليكم نارا وقودها الناس والحجارة. Simple. O you who believe, protect yourself and your family from a hell fire. So that's the responsibility on the parents. What is the issue? What is the problem then? The problem is that we live in a society that is changing and changing fast. And the new ways, the new habits, the new thoughts, the new actions, the new tendencies, the new waves in the society will affect our children. There's no doubt about it. The question is that how to minimize it and how to really change where things are as far as we are concerned. There are two books that I will be quoting from. One is called Hollowed Out by Jeremy Adams, and another is a book by Brother Dawood Walid. It's called Futuwa. Futuwa. I advise every parent who have male children age 10, 12 and above to get this book. It's very important because it shed some light on the issue, but then it gives a detailed way of what to and how to deal with it. Again, he wrote the book for the males because we have more of a crisis in our males than our females. We have a crisis. Basically, we have this new generation that does not want to take responsibility. You will find most of the sisters who go to college, they graduate, they finish, and they go and build careers if they think about marriage. That's one issue, one problem. But the other problem, many of the young men, Muslim men, just like in the society at large, they drop out of high school. And they think that I can make big money fast. Why? Because they look at social media and they found some of those young men surrounded by beautiful models, women left and right. They have fast cars, expensive cars, they have mansions, and they are playing with money. So they thought, I can have it, I can do the same. And then they found that, no, money does not grow on trees. And they find that they are not going to get anywhere with this. And suddenly, you find young men, although alhamdulillah it's not a common phenomenon, but it's all over. And many imams are being approached by parents saying the following: my son is 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, and he sits in his room all the time. He does not want to work. He does not want to help in the home. He does not want to do anything. He's just taken his phone and he is with his phone 24/7, unless he's asleep. Because they are depressed. They have a situation of ihbat, basically. No, I thought I can, by this time, be rich. And this is a characteristics that we see coming up common among the young men. So in this book, again, he's talking about the general public in the US, but this would affect all of us. So he says that about this generation, their curiosity seems stunted, their reason undeveloped, their values uninformed, their knowledge lacking, and more worrying of all, their humanity diminished. Digital hermits of a sort unfamiliar to the older generation. They are very good at phones, tablets, what have you. Not like their parents who may be not aware of these things. They have little interest in marriage and family. This is one of the phenomena, by the way. And it's creeping among the Muslims. We see it coming up and need to be dealt with accordingly. To the Americans, the statistic says that people were asked, how many of you would love to travel, would like to travel? They said about 60%, they said we like to travel and see the world. How many of you would like to have a home, buy a home? It goes down to 49%. How many of you are planning to get married and have a family and children? It goes down to less than 40%. I mean, this should get us to stop and think. Then he goes on, they largely dismiss and are shockingly ignorant of religion. That's another phenomenon in the society that's also affecting our own children. Religion is no longer a reference for the bulk of the people. It's not even something that the bulk of the people hold to be sacred. He gave an example here. He said in one of the cases, people would be asked about Moses. And the guy said, who's Moses? And he said, you did not read the Bible? He said, why should I read it? Because basically the faith is not there. I mean, you would read if there is some faith in there, or if you are looking for the truth. And then he says this. He said, often friendless. They don't have friends. And depressed, they eat alone, study alone, and even socialize alone. One of the parents told me that his daughter, she comes from outside and goes to her room. Not even saying, Assalamu alaikum, shu akhbarkum, what had happened. Just go to her room. And most likely she ate outside. If she will need something, she will come, pick it up, and go back to her room. He said, I need to deal with this. This is not a hotel. This is a family in this regard. But this attitude is increasing. It's not a majority yet. But this attitude is increasing. And this book are sounding the alarms that we as parents, we as a Muslim community, because the parents cannot do it by themselves. In here, I'm going to read a statement from an assistant principal in a high school. She said, I can't begin to describe how much time I spend every day dealing with issues that stem from the unsupervised cell phone usage by our students. In situations where I have to search the student's cell phone, I often get sick to my stomach at what I find. Highly inappropriate pictures, photos, videos, messages, social media usage. The things our students are willing to try and be a part of at such a young age gets worse and worse every year. When I call parents to inform them of what is going on, I always ask them how often they search their kids' phones. The shock gets even worse when 90% of them say hardly ever or never. There are cases where basically the family is aware of what is in the cell phones of their children, Muslim families, is when the police come home, or when the school calls, or when there is a big problem. Otherwise, do you give your child a gun without giving them direction? Of course not. Of course not. But families are just pumping out all those cell phones and giving to the children at a young age without knowing what's going on. Today, a Muslim brother in his 80s, sent me this thing about Canada and the teacher screaming at Muslim kids why they did not show up for the Qawm Lut celebration. So I was of the habit, if there is something that benefits the community, I would try to send it. I do not really just, send stuff anywhere. It's something that will benefit, because some of the stuff I do not even read, a waste of time. But something like this is important for the parents to be aware of. Now, I do not have a Facebook account. I do not have a TikTok account. I do not have this or that. But I just did this, and I found that there are so many pictures and videos under that one, and some of it is just explicit pornography. I said, Alhamdulillah, I did not forward this. I called the brother. I said, do you know what you sent me? He said, no, I just sent you this thing about Canada. I said, why didn't you look on the bottom and below that and see what you have sent? I mean, the brother was saying, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah, brother. I mean, of course, I know he did not intend it. But the point is, the kids are sending those videos tens by the hundreds every day in this regard. Where is the supervision coming? Now, I can go on and describe some of the other phenomena in this regard. But I think I want to spend more time on the solutions rather than just what is the problem. But if I do not give you a feel of how deep is the problem, you will not appreciate the solutions. Because the solutions are not easy. They will require time and efforts from the parents, from the masjid, from the Sunday school, from youth programs, from sisters program, and so on and so forth. We cannot solve this problem by just doing something the minimum. We can't. Just simple, we can't. He said here that part of this new phenomenon that you will see among the young in this country is you go to school and you see plenty of problems that affect everyone. And as parents, especially immigrant parents, we absolutely, the bulk of us, have no clue what is going on in the schools. I'll give you an example. So this brother, who's in his mid-50s, go to Athens a few years back because he wanted to talk to the principal. He goes to Athens. He go with his son. It was May, the month of May. This is his son told me, not the father. The son told me. So the father entered the school. Astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. Wherever he put his eyes, astaghfirullah. I mean, this guy is 55 and he has been married for 35 years. Imagine this young man, a high schooler, going through this every day. Every day. I mean, we have to understand what the kids are going through. They will see this young woman who's saying, oh, I used to have this, I dropped him, I have my ex, and I get the new one, and I have my wife, and the guy is talking about this and this and that, exchanging explicit pictures and this and that, and our kids hear this every day. Every day. Mark my words. Every day. Not every other day. Every day. What adds insult to injury is that the schools have their own issues. So basically, when they discuss some of the challenges that are happening and that would require some work, their hands most of the time are tied because of the rules that are in there. I remember at one point I was giving a class to the sisters years back, and I advise the sisters and the families, be aware of this phenomenon, which was at that time new, that's called sex education in the schools. And don't sign for it, and this and that. So one of the sisters came and said, Brother Hisham, why? Why not? Why not? Why? I mean, they're going to know these things from other kids. Why not from the teacher? I said, do you have an idea what the teacher is teaching? The teacher is saying, if you want to do this, protect yourself. Go ahead and do it. If you want to do this, this is the consequences. Basically, you can do whatever you want. They are not teaching the kids to abstain. They are not teaching the kids. and I was trying, the sister, Arab sister, kept arguing. And subhanAllah, I'm not going to mention her name, but there was a sister, an African-American sister who was a teacher in the public school. She said, Brother Hisham, can I talk? I said, sure. She said, the teacher who teach your kids sex education in the school is from Qawm Lut. Take this. The teacher who's supposed to teach this course on sex education is from Qawm Lut. Of course, at that point, the sister has not much to say in this regard. So we need to be aware of the challenges that are facing our kids in the schools and why we have a loss. Why each year we have 100,000 young kids, Muslim children, are leaving the deen in America every year. 100,000. That's the statistics. Because the environment and the changing culture comes upon this in the last few years is this pride thing. For a month, being bombarded. But at least the nation for the last 2-3 years waked up. There are about 529 laws that are being introduced in some legislators against this thing. As I said, the Muslims in Canada, they have no power to introduce laws, but they did it on themselves. The Muslims in Michigan, in one of the cities, they took over the school board, who have been trying to put this agenda on that. So as Muslims, we need to understand the reality. We need to understand what's going on in the schools. That's why I keep telling the parents, once a while, stop by the school, talk to the principal and the teachers about your kids. And let them know that you went there. And Muslims, we talked about this last week, that Muslims in every masjid, Muslim organization, there has to be a group of Muslims working together to follow up what's going on in the public school. Not just about issues like what we are discussing today, but about the curriculum. So you tell your son, you tell your daughter, if there is something in the curriculum, in the books about Islam, about Muslims, that's not appropriate, let us know. We'll go there. It makes a big difference. It makes a big difference. I remember one day, a brother approached an assistant principal, say, we want to establish a Muslim club, an MSA in the high school. She said, no way, this is a hate group. Wallahi, that's what she said. This is a hate group. So the brother came to me and said, that's what the teacher said, the assistant principal. I said, no, inshallah, we will deal with it. Just go tomorrow and tell her the lawyer of the Islamic Association of Raleigh will be coming with some of the parents to discuss this issue. The lawyer, that's the key. The lawyer is coming with some of the parents. So he went, asked for a meeting. I told her, yeah, I took some of the parents and our Islamic Center, and the lawyer of the Islamic Association of Raleigh will be coming with some of the parents to discuss this with you. He said, no, there's no need for them to come. Yeah, you can have your club, just let's say what hours, what do you want to do, and this and this and that. That's all it took. We did not go. No lawyer, no parents, no nothing in this regard. The people in the school will tell you, if one of the kids, if the parents will go, and if there's an issue, the moment they mention that we need to talk to our lawyer about this, it's just to change whatever needed. Because they do not want to be involved in lawsuits, knowing that there are organizations that will support those things. So a first thing is a relationship that is continuous with the schools is a must. Being on the individual level or once in a while a group of Muslims. Alhamdulillah, some brothers, sisters have done the effort, and they give the whole school system a Eid. So everybody on Eid al-Fitr, everybody is off. That by itself is important to our kids. It's not just because they are off. No, they know that, oh, we are something different. We can do this. We are able to do this. We are being recognized, and so on and so forth. This really will build their self-esteem within this system, that everybody is off because of us and our holiday. It's very important. Yeah, some people might not think of it as a big deal, but it is. Now, let's talk about, I covered to a certain extent these schools, unless there's some question later on. So let's go to the home, which is the most important. Because the school, some of it is within your control, some of it is out of your control. But let's talk about the home. One of the basic principles that should be crystal clear in every Muslim family is that the family will need to eat together every day. Very important. Very, very important that the family sit together and eat and talk over the meal and keep the dialogue happening between the parents and the kids. One of the Muslim parents say basically, my children come and they go to their room, and then they come, when the time for dinner, they come and said, oh, I have homework. Can I take my plate to my room? Oh, you have homework? Yeah, okay, just take it. And then the father is still going up, and one day, and the kid is watching YouTube and playing with their phone. Because for this individualism, this me, this I need to do things what I like in my own way is really the trend. Is really the trend. In fact, he called it the Almighty I. We say Allah the Almighty, right? The Almighty I, that you put yourself now in that place. And there's a trend. There is a trend that's even affecting our homes. How often do we sit and talk? How often do we go out with our own young kids who are 13 or 14 or what have you? Say, oh, he's this, he's that, she's this, she's that. That's very important, that we need to train this from the beginning, not by force, but it has to be a habit. And then, when it comes to socializing, the parents should not look at who I am comfortable with to socialize and chat and talk. Because usually when we look at circles to socialize, I look for somebody from my background, from my home country. In fact, if somebody from my hood, from my neighborhood back home, we sit and chat. No, from now on, you need to sacrifice. You need to build your social circles based on your children's ages. So if I have a daughter that is, I should say now granddaughter, at this age, I will look for families who think like myself, close in their Islamic commitment. Yeah, all of us, we have our shortcomings, but those who at least share the bulk of the thoughts, and I would socialize with them based on the needs of my own children or grandchildren. Because I want the children and grandchildren to be together. As mentioned, the human is a social animal. If I come, and I heard it from the youth, I was in charge of the youth program in this masjid for more than 12 years. And I had, mashallah, Imam Muammar at that time, Brother Khalid al-Zu'bi, and many others who were, helping the program. You would hear it, you would hear this statement, my parents are crazy. If we talk, alaykum salam, if we talk about dating, they said haram. If I want to go and spend night, haram. If I want to do this, haram, haram, haram. Now, if there is a circle of families who socialize with each other, they have the same, thoughts, not necessarily, as I said, agree on everything, but they have activities for them. It's not just on the day of Eid, I am busy with the other elders and socialize and go and drink and eat. No, no, my focus will be my children, the activities for the children. When there's an event like Halloween or this, we will have as a families an approach, an alternative approach. There is something that we will have for them. Once a week, we'll go eat outside. I mean, you will need to start from that age of 8, 9, 10 to really build this relationship. You cannot just say, brother, I leave home when they are asleep and I come home just when they are so tired to go to sleep. Change your job, because you do not want to lose your kids. And don't rely on one of the parents. The bird needs 2 wings to fly. Both are needed. And they have to agree among themselves on tarbiyah. Muhammad Qutb has a fantastic, very informative lecture, Allah yarhamu taban. He said that parents need to agree on a way for tarbiyah, even if it's not the optimum. Because if one of the parents want the kids to be at this level, and the other parent said, we can't do it at this level, it's okay. The kids will play on the contradiction, and they will neither get here nor get there. There has to be an agreement, again, between the husband and the wife on how to approach this issue of tarbiyah. If the kids want to go, we want to go sleep over at such and such home. And the other parent said, no way. And one of the parents said, it's okay. That's very dangerous. Very dangerous. I usually advise families not to have sleepovers. Many of the innocent kids got into trouble with drugs, alcohol, and pornography when they went to sleep at Muslim homes. At Muslim homes. Get this. At Muslim homes. I'm not talking about non-Muslim homes. So this is the reality. I mean, you can just hold this phone and type a word with 3 letters, and suddenly you have tons of junk that is there available for 8-year-old or 7-year-old or 6-year-old. Unless, of course, the parents have put something, they go to another home where there's no something in this regard. So there has to be an agreement between the parents on a tarbiyah, on what is it that we want, and they agree on each other. And you cannot have 2 parents who are, easygoing, anything goes, and you cannot have 2 parents of nothing. There has to be, this is different from agreeing on a tarbiyah. Agreeing on a tarbiyah approach, that's a must. Having meetings to discuss issues pertaining to, my salary. Yeah, we can afford buying, a new car. Oh no, my salary at this moment, I cannot buy a new car. Let the kids hear it. Because what we are having now is grown up in their 20s, 22, they have no idea how to handle money. They have no idea of what to do when they are faced with such an issue. Do you know there are a good number of Muslim kids in the prison in Raleigh? Do you know that? Yeah, why? Some of them are trying to break into a car to steal. Some of them dealing with drugs and this and that. Again, it's not very common, but it's there. And eventually, I remember I went to Chicago for an event 2-3 years ago. And the brother was telling me that the governor approached them. He said, not recently, he said in the old days, he said, we are really proud of you as Muslims, and we hope everybody would be like you, because we have no trouble with you or with your kids. Everybody was saying, what is it? That those immigrants who came and their children were in their, teens, that we have no issue. You do not go and find in jail. He said, today, if you go to the jails in Chicago, plenty of children of Arabs and Indo-Pak and this and that who are in the prison system. I know some of them, by the way. I know some of them. Why? Because the kids get to a point where I need more money. I cannot go to my parents. I need some quick money. And there are wolves out there in the school who are willing to pay you money to sell drugs. I mean, that's a reality. That's a reality. So sitting with the kids and discussing these issues is very, very, very important. The kids should not be totally in the dark. If the parent lose a job, sit with the kids. You know, at this moment, I do not really have a job. We used to go and eat twice a week. At this moment, you know, we'll just eat home. We were planning to go for vacation back home. This summer, we will not be able to do it. I mean, get them to hold some responsibility. Because one of the major things that is happening, kids come out of the home without discipline, without responsibility. Basically, food has to be in a certain time, eat in a certain place. When you do things, you do it in a certain way. There has to be discipline. Well, I remember a parent telling me, he said, you know, what can I do with my son? I said, what's the issue? He said, he's at home. Whenever he get, you know, not his way, he just hit the doors with his foot and break this and break this and break that. I said, how old is he? He said, 17. I said, too late. Too late, because there was no discipline early on. I mean, I have seen some families when the 1-year-old or 2-year-old spit on someone, they laugh. Oh, you know, he's just spitting. They don't realize that discipline starts early on. For example, you know, there are many families that use the word Ya Ahmar at home, telling the kids that you are a donkey. You know, those who do not know the Arab culture, that's how you insult someone. That's how you insult someone. And they use it. So what do you expect? Your son, your daughter will grow up using this. There has to be a discipline in the sleep, in the eating, in the language, in what have you. There has to be boundaries. I mean, this does not mean that we're going to restrict there, but there are some etiquettes. Yani Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sitting at the table at the Ma'idah with someone, a young person. His hand was going all over the plate. So he goes here and he goes here. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Ya ghulam, sammi Allah, wa kul bi yaminik, wa kul bimma yalik. You know, oh young son, say Bismillah. Eat with your right hand and eat from what's next to you in your plate. I mean, that's how from early on you build behavior. You build a character. Respect the elders. I sometimes in the lobby, and a sister come carrying a heavy box. You know, I am in my 60s. I don't think about it. I jump and said, let me have it. So I tried this experiment, you know. Brothers, can you see the sisters? Yeah? Yeah? Yeah. What? Go and carry it. I mean, she's in the age of your mother or older. But I know, because if their mother is carrying the load, they will not jump and carry it from her, because they were not trained to do so. They were not trained to do so. So these things, when it comes to tarbiyah within the home, discipline within the home is very, very important. Beating the kids is not the way. That's not the way. You need to take your time. And also, you know, some of the families, again, this is information locally here. During World Cup, you will find the husband sitting on the TV and he does not want anyone to breathe, because he does not want to miss anything that's being mentioned in the World Cup. I mean, where's your brain? Where is your mind? This thing will go for months. So they are prisoners in their home until حضرتك, you are satisfied to see what happened with this guy, what happened with that guy who scored the goal and this. So you're going to go to the masjid and sit for 3 hours outside, discuss it? No, we need to be serious, and we are not serious. As an ummah, we need to be a serious ummah. There are issues that require seriousness, and this issue requires seriousness. There has to be a balance. What's more important for me? To watch this soccer game or to go with my wife and my children, visit another Muslim family, or take them to the park and do this or do that. Of course, the latter one, there's no doubt about it. Somebody will say, well, this take an effort. Of course. Who said raising? Why Allah said if you have two daughters, they are your way to Jannah? They are your way to Jannah because, you had a relationship with your wife and you produced two daughters? Is that the understanding, that you have a relationship with your wife, you produce two daughters, and Allah will guarantee you Jannah? Of course not. You talk about Rabbaha or Rabbahum, raise them in a good way that they will be his ticket to Jannah. So it's worth it. We need to understand our future as Muslims in this country are tied to what happened within our families. The usra, it's the foundation. It's the foundation. Now, add to this is this backbiting and talk. Okay, there's this couple who got divorced. Suddenly, you find the father and the mother, maybe with some others, oh, this is what happened, and this is bad, and this is this, and that. And the kids are listening. Oh, is this what marriage is all about? I'm not interested. We blow out the issues. We blow out the issues, and instead of minimizing the damage in this regard, we spread it. And here, as I said, he says, among the Americans, Muslims and non-Muslims, he says 39% only are interested in getting married and have children. We have this hypocrite. Her name is Malala Yousafzai, who the kuffar have been dancing with her all the time and playing, this is the progressive, this is the Muslimah, giving her this, prize and this prize and this and this and that. And she comes like 2 years ago and she says, I'm not going to get married. I do not need to get married. I can live on my own by myself and so on and so forth. This junk. And there was an uproar in Pakistan. I mean, you tell a Muslim society, you tell a Muslim culture, your daughter, they do not need to get married. They can be on their own. What? Isn't this encouraging zina? Isn't this encouraging, all kind of vices? Isn't this? Yeah, I'm fine the way that I am. I do not need to get married. That's what the kuffar taught her. Then after 2 years, she wake up that she's just yet another female. So she came and said, I found the love of my life. I'm going to get married. MashaAllah. Mabruk. What about the damage that you've done to the Muslim girls back home who think you are something? And you are, from my perspective, a piece of trash. Because she accepted to be a tool in the kuffar to spread the kuffar culture in the Muslim land. So after all of this, we do not need to get married. There's no need for marriage. There is, we are fine girls the way that we are, and this and this and that. The damage is done, and then, because there are unfortunately many people who listen to her, many girls who listen to her, and think that, she's something. And you come and, this is destroying the Muslim culture. This is destroying the Muslim family. Because this is what the kuffar have pushed her way. And then, at one point, she realized, she's just another creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, another female that she would need a partner in this life. She would need a husband. The damage already have done. So when such a thing comes, this should be discussed. This should be discussed. If I find that my daughter or my son holds someone, with high regard, I need to understand who's this person. Some of you, I'm not sure, how many of you, we had a case a few months back. There was this guy who was young, maybe in his like maybe 30s or late 30s. Now this guy would go on YouTube, praise the Muslims, and praise, the Muslim family, and say, those Muslim women are dedicated for their Muslim life, for their family life. You see them with their children, this and that. Not like the American woman who's this and who's this and who's that. And he keep blasting the American woman. He keep blasting the American woman. And The other pictures of him is he's surrounded by many beautiful young girls and have all those nice cars, expensive cars, huh? And have this life and have those houses, mansions here and there and here and there. And he's filthy. He talk about women in a very, very filthy way. Talk about kuffar women. I mean, not about Muslim women. In a very filthy way. But he has a following. Many young men around the world look up to him. Why? Because they failed in this life. They have no future, as I told you. This is the people who are sitting at home. And they see, those girls went to school and this and that on their own and building career and this and this and that. So this resonates in them. What's the problem? He became a Muslim. And a fight broke between the Muslim males and the Muslim females. Severe. I mean, people were accusing each other. I mean, I'm not going to mention his name here, but he's all over the news at that time. And people were saying, the males defending him. He's this, he's that, he's that. You're laughing, huh? Because you know what I'm talking about. Guess what? After this big fight between the Muslim males and Muslim females over this jerk, he ended up in prison in Romania for trafficking young women to be abused, plus many other things. But for about 3-4 months between him becoming a Muslim and his arrest on this, there was, it's difficult for me it needs a time, that there was a big fight within our own children on social media. I'm talking about Muslims in masajid, young Muslim and young Muslims. I'm not talking about Muslim outside. Because the males look at this guy, just like Trump. How many young and old white American, look at Trump? I mean, somebody like Trump should be in jail a long time ago. Somebody like Trump, people should look down on him. Somebody like Trump should be worthless in the society. How in the world he became a president? Because he appealed to the losers in this society, saying, look, the immigrants came and took your jobs. The Mexican came and they are doing this to your women and your children. This. Yeah. Suddenly, 70 million people are behind him. 70 million. In the last election, 70 million were behind him. And if you go try to convince one of those guys, try something else, he will tell you all those are conspiracies. This man does not do any wrong. This man is this man that. It's the same thing. So at my home, at your home, we need to know who our children look up to, because that should give you an indication of what are the issues. What are the issues in this regard? Another aspect that is at home is we need strong Muslim homes. We need strong Muslim homes where the father and the mother are solid in their relationship. And every house will have issues. The issues are not to be discussed in front of the kids. And the issues that, you look at the life of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what sort of issues were in his household, family? Sometimes Aisha radiallahu anha will get upset. How does the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam know that Aisha is upset? She said, وَرَبُّ Ibrahim. I swear by the God of Ibrahim. He knows that she have some beef with him. But if she says, وَرَبُّ Muhammad, that everything is cool, everything is fine. And compare this to what the stories that come to the Imams. I mean, money should not be a major issue where families break over. Unfortunately, that's an issue. We are not here to collect money. There's nothing wrong with collecting money from halal sources, there's nothing wrong with it. But that's not our objective in life. Wallahi, I was told of a family that the father worked day and night to get his kids nice cars, a big house, vacation overseas every summer. And by the age of 17, his son was beating him. Because he thought, if I make all the goodies available for them, they will have respect for me. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. If they were not raised on the virtues of respecting and taking care of the parents, because this is what the deen of Allah says, not because I am just brought you to this life. If there are no foundation in this regard, and it's very important, by the way. I mean, I'll give you an example which is clear. If you want to see it, you come and see it for yourself. But not now when the school starts. The Sunday school have a few hundred Muslim kids, right? If you come at Salat al-Dhuhr, 10 minutes before Salat al-Dhuhr, how many cars leave the premises of the Islamic Center? More than 50 cars. More than 50 cars. Okay? So let's think about it. As a teacher in the Sunday school, I'm talking to the kids the importance of Salah. Salah is imad, amud al-din, the pillars of this deen. Salah, 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 salah. And the parent come 10 minutes before Salat al-Dhuhr and take the kids, and neither him nor they pray Salat al-Dhuhr. Most of them will not even pray it at home. I know that. Because there is a good number of Muslims, unfortunately, that do not make Salah. Unfortunately. And if my actions are to this level, telling the kids, yeah, let's go. What is the message? Yeah, Salah, it's not that important. I may not say it, but my action say it big time. For the sake of time, let's jump out of the family to other issues. Marriage. I visited the community about maybe 3 years back, away from here. The same community I have visited about 10 years before that. It's Arab community, Palestinian in specific. But when I went the second time, there was a shock. I saw all those girls age, I would say 18 to 35, who were dressed in an inappropriate way, just to say the least. 10 years before that, the bulk of the sisters were with hijab and this and that. But those are young girls in that age, and their dresses, some of them really was way off. So I asked the host, I said, who are those girls? They said, we do not know. I said, what do you mean we do not know? Of course, there, it's not like here. Here, people take a hotel, especially those rich, a very expensive hotel and very expensive food, and they have a limited number. They cannot just invite, so they start trimming the list until they get them. There, they just open, take a big hall, and they have a buffet, so anybody can come. They don't, there's nobody at the door saying, are you invited or not? So I said, we do not know them. I said, okay, why they are here? They said they're looking for husbands. There were about 50 of them. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. There's nothing wrong with that. But I looked around, I said, where are the candidates? Where are the young men who are potential? I count them on one hand, not two hands. One hand, the rest were married, of course. Males were married. There were one hand, 5 that were available, and 50 they are looking for husbands. I alluded to this earlier when I said, no, we are having an issue with our males in this society. And that's why I said, this book is important for families who have males. But look at the challenge when a young man go to school, come out of school, drop out, or make it to college, come out with a big student loan, and may or may not have a good job to support him, and then he hear, oh, this brother got married, and it cost him $100,000. And this brother got married, and the family asked them for $150,000 in total expenses. What do you think this young man will think? Huh? Marriage is not for me. And even if I want to get married, I'm going to go and look somewhere else. You know, we are not looking for a table or a chair. You are looking for a wife. You are looking for a pillar of a Muslim family for the future of Muslims. Non-Muslims are not an option. I kept saying for many years, non-Muslims are not an option. When the Quran talk about the people of the book, he's talking about special category. And if you look in this society, find this special category. A girl that does not have any relationship with the opposite sex or with what have you. A girl that is with manners that, you know, Islam have described and so on and so forth. The only thing in here is that she says, I am a Christian or I am a Jew. But we are talking about special category in this regard. And we have seen in this town the marriages that happen even when the girl was not interested in religion, her religion. The moment that she got married, have children, suddenly she wants to take her son to the church. And the saga starts in the courts. I went to be a witness in the courts, so I know what I'm talking about. So I say to my young brothers, that's not an option. You need someone to help you in this life, to be on your side, and to carry this amana of Islam with you. And to the parents, you really need to act according to what Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. The least cost of one's daughter to get married means that she has the most blessing. I mean, what more you want? That the less that you get burden your future son-in-law, this means there's lots of barakah in your daughter. أقلكن مؤنة أكثركن بركة. And start with rich families, not with poor families. Start with rich families, saying, yes, I have the money. I have plenty of it, but I'm not gonna have this elaborate wedding to show off. Unfortunately, many of the weddings that we have in those show off. I want my daughter to have better than his daughter and her daughter. That's a reality. Let's not, you know, put our faces in the sand. And then my son-in-law comes with another, above whatever he have in debt from college, another $70,000-$80,000. I was told of a marriage in Manhattan, again for a Palestinian family, in a very fancy hotel. The plate was $450. $450. One plate. I mean, what's the word for this other than show off? What's the word for it other than show off? And people just throw money. I have seen some of these weddings. In Raleigh, still, I did not see that, you know, extravaganza stuff. I mean, there are some that really, you know, waste lots of money, but not to that level. So if I want to have and build a future for Islam and Muslims in this country, I need to not just raise a righteous family, I need to make it easy for a future Muslim family. I need to realize that I need to have a talk with my wife and my daughter. What is it that we need? Because you do not want the husband, yeah, I'm convinced what you're saying is right. Then he goes and says something, and then the mother-in-law kept asking, we need this, and we need this, and the wife-to-be, we need this, and we need... They have to be on board. This is very important. Because if those children who are 16 and 17 and 18, if they see this thing happening, they look up to getting married. And they think that the society, the Muslim community is in support of them. I mean, look, 50 years ago only, or I know that many of you are less than 50 years. 50 years ago, it was an international phenomenon all over the world. Men are looking to get married. That's given. And women are looking to get married. That's given. But in the last 10, 15 years, starting, for example, with Japan, young men are not interested. And they are crying. What will happen to the future of the country? Where are we going to have the next generation? Where are we going to have the next children who are going to carry the responsibility of the country? And this and this and that. And we start seeing this in America and in Europe. Not interested in getting married. That's a very dangerous sign. Let me repeat this. When young men and women in the society, among the Muslims, they are not interested in getting married, this is a dangerous sign. Not just it opens the door for all vices and fahisha and this and this and this and that. Not just that. Because then we will not have a future. Because the future of the Muslims in this country is the future of the Muslim usra, the Muslim family. That's what we'll build. Now, I talked about the challenges, but the reality is there are many good examples. Alhamdulillah, you would see many families who really do not care about a big mahar or a very, expensive party or this and this and that. We find many young brothers and young sisters on campus in this community who are carrying this responsibility, getting married and having children and volunteering and working just like it's as if their job required it. Yes, we have many success stories, and you can look and learn from it. But what we are talking about, as the Prophet ﷺ said, أَنَا النَّذِيرُ الْعُرْيَانِ. In the day of Jahiliyyah, when somebody has some serious news, he takes off the upper part of his clothes. They call him النذير العريان, the naked warner. Of course, the Prophet ﷺ was warning the people of hellfire. And here, that warning is still intact. But we are warning that the future of this community, the future of the Muslim communities, rely on the Muslim family spending the time with their children, socializing with other Muslims who have children, the age of their children, having alternative activities for the children whenever there is something that the society is busy with, having a weekly basis, if they can have dinner at each place. Let the children sit with the adults for a while, and then they can go and have, their own, talk or chat or what have you. But they need to sit and listen. And we as parents, we need to understand what are the issues that need to be discussed with the children in this regard. As I said, alhamdulillah, there are many children. In fact, tomorrow there's a graduation for a leadership program that went throughout the year. Total dedication. Come for future leaders, selected based on certain criteria. There's another graduation for the high schoolers and the college students that the Islamic Center is doing. I encourage the families to come. We need to come to support. Don't come and tell me, brother, I do not get from work until this time. Take that half day off. Because unless we sacrifice, we do not have a future. As I said, when Allah told us through the Prophet ﷺ, raising 2 females with good tarbiyah will be your ticket to Jannah, he was not talking about you having a relationship with your wife and producing 2 daughters. He's talking about tarbiyah. Tarbiyah and tarbiyah. Let me close with this for the sake of time. Back home, for those who came from overseas, we have extended families. So if the son gets upset for a reason or other, he will go to his uncle, khalo, to his am, to his amma, to his khala, to his grandfather, to his grandmother. In this society, many of us do not have extended families. So they go to the counselors in the public school who themselves need counseling. So don't get to the point of your children not having another reference. That's why it's very important to have a group of families. If your son is upset, saying, why don't you go and talk to uncle so-and-so? Let's see what he says. Why don't you go and talk to the imam? Let's see what he says. Because if you have this social network, we are not talking about social network, the phone. We are talking about people meeting face to face, talking, eating together, chatting together. That's what we are talking about. That if the son or the daughter have an issue, talk to auntie so-and-so, talk to uncle so-and-so. And they are familiar with them. They know them. They do not come at age 17 who never seen the imam or the masjid. Let's go talk to the imam. It's too late. Too late. Not that, there's no chance, but it's too late. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to raise good Muslims, families, and children, and a future generation in this country. I have 5-6 minutes, inshallah, if there are questions or comments. Jazakumullahu khairan wa barakallahu feekum. I'll leave this book, inshallah, on the table there if you want to take a picture of it with your cell phone. But again, I advise every family that have a young man, this is not for the sisters. This is for the men, because the problem is bigger. This is for there may be other books, but this is for the men if you have young, even if you have daughters, but this is again geared toward the young men. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.
الله أكبر.